There are things in life that no amount of learning and knowledge can prepare you for. Things that make you question everything you thought you knew, and turn your preconceived notions on their heads. After 12 years as a social worker in Manhattan, I thought I had seen it all. Every manner of atrocities committed upon the helpless, countless victims that I couldn't save. That is until I got the call. The shrill ring of my phone on my bedside table startled me from a dreamless sleep. My husband John grumbled beside me, rolling away from me with a huff. I groaned and reached for my phone blindly, scrambling for it in the dark. When my hand finally connected with the vibrating device, I lifted it to my face, catching a glimpse of what time it was, as I answered. 2:14 a.m. "Miranda, you there?" "Yeah, what's up?" I mumbled groggily, keeping my voice low so it wouldn't disturb John again. Sorry to bother you so late, but we just got a call. It's urgent," she said, a hint of worry leaking through her stoic tone. I was instantly tugging on a pair of dark navy jeans and throwing on a red zip-up hoodie I had placed on the rocking chair in the corner before bed. I cradled the phone against my shoulder with my cheek as I quickly tugged my strawberry blonde hair into a ponytail. "It's fine, Vicky. Just tell me what I need to know." I heard the shuffling of papers through her end of the phone as she sorted through her notes. "Neighbor called the cops a couple minutes ago. Said she saw the kid jump out of a second-floor window. Mom and Dad came booking it through the door before manhandling her back inside. Kid's name is Mallory Evans, 8 years old. Mom is Vanessa and Dad is Will. No prior history." She then recited the address to me, which I jotted down on a piece of tissue paper. "All right, I'm heading over now," I said, wishing Vicky a good night before pocketing my phone. I hurried down the stairs to our cozy 2-story townhouse, situated in the Bronx. Snatching my keys out of the bowl beside the door, I silently slipped into the brisk night air. I slid into the plush leather seats of my black sedan and punched in the address on the GPS. In what felt like no time at all, I stood in front of a cute 2-story brick house in the suburbs, with a white picket fence enclosing a small yard. I wasted no time in walking up to the door, gently hitting the knocker to announce myself. After some brief shuffling, the door cracked open and a mousy woman eyed me warily. I smiled warmly at her and said, "Hi, Miss Evans. My name is Miranda. I'm with Child Services. Can I come in? You're not in any trouble. Someone was just concerned about your daughter." A terrified expression flitted across her features, and I watched as she wrestled for control of her emotions. Now's not really a good time. Mallory is sleeping. She has school tomorrow," she mumbled nervously. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but if I don't verify that everything is okay, we'll have to get the police back down here, and there's no need to bother them again, right?" I said apologetically. She sighed and opened the door further, allowing me to slip inside before closing it behind me. A chill ran down my spine as I heard the click of the door locking behind me. She led me inside, past a flight of stairs and to the left into a comfortable living room. A man a few years older than me sat on the suede couch, a glass of dark liquor in his hands. Vanessa sat beside her husband and I occupied a velvet chair across from them. "So why don't you tell me what happened last night?" The couple exchanged a spooked glance and Will shook his head in agitation. "You'd never believe us. So let's just say she fell, all right? I already told the officer I'd put a screen in the window," he bit out. I crossed my legs and leaned forward, my arms crossed across my knee. "You can tell me the truth. I'm not here to get anyone in trouble. I'm here to make sure a child is all right." "That's not my child," Vanessa hissed suddenly. Will clamped a hand on her arm, shooting her a warning glare. "What do you mean? How could it not be?" I inquired. Will frowned at his wife disapprovingly. "Vanessa, of course that's our daughter," he sighed and turned back to me. "Mallory has been acting strange the past couple of days, that's all." "Why don't you start from the beginning?" I said, flipping open my notepad and priming my pen. "Well, it started yesterday morning," Vanessa began hesitantly. "I went to make up Mallory for school, but she wasn't in her room. I came out and she was in the kitchen. Good Lord, was it a mess. She had to eat her way through half the fridge. She hadn't been feeling well the night before and skipped dinner," Will explained. "We thought she was feeling better and was just hungry from skipping a meal." Vanessa nodded in agreement. "That is until she came home. She looked so ill, like she had caught the plague or something. I asked her what was wrong and all she would say is she hated school and never wanted to go back. She ate dinner, ate all of it, even our portions, mind you, and then headed straight to bed, saying she didn't feel well and wanted to rest. Before I went to bed, I went to check on her. I wanted to make sure she was sleeping all right. When I looked in her room, she wasn't in bed." Vanessa gulped, sucking in a shaky breath. "She was dancing, if you could even really call it that. twitching and jerking in the middle of the room, and her body was making these god-awful cracking noises as she moved. Vanessa shuddered, leaning into her husband for support. When she looked at me, I knew it wasn't my baby girl. Whatever that thing is, it had glowing red eyes and fangs. I fought back the laugh that was bubbling in my chest at her wild story, struggling to remain professional as I listened to her absurd claims. Then what happened? Well, I locked it in the bedroom. I didn't want it to attack us in the middle of the night, Vanessa confessed. And there it was. The couple had locked the poor girl in her room, and she had tried to escape the only way she could. I folded my notepad shut and slipped into my purse. I'm gonna go check on Mallory now, okay? I said, my voice gentle as if trying not to scare off a spooked animal. The Evans exchanged an anxious look once more. Finally, Will nodded, rising from the couch and showing me down the hallway to the room. He handed me a small silver key before retreating back down the hall to the living room, leaving me standing alone in front of a white wooden door, decorated with an assortment of girly stickers. I knocked gently on the door to announce myself. Mallory, are you awake, sweetie? My name is Miranda. I'm here to make sure you're okay. There was no response, but I could make out a muffled shuffling noise from within. I knocked again, waiting for a response that never came. Finally, I slid the key into the lock and gently nudged the door open. Mallory stood in the middle of the bedroom, dimly illuminated by the pale beams of moonlight peeking through the window across the room. Her joints popped and cracked as her small body gyrated across the rug in some macabre dance. I stood frozen in place, too stunned by the ghastly display to approach or even run. As Mallory pivoted slowly to face me, a pair of gleaming crimson eyes landed on me. A sinister grin split her face, far too wide for that of an 8-year-old girl. Her mouth was filled with rows of needle-sharp teeth. I gasped and stumbled back out of the doorway. As I reached the closet, Mallory dropped to all fours and skittered across the floor towards me. I shrieked, narrowly stumbling out of her way as she lunged towards me with an ominous giggle. Scrambling to my feet, I reached blindly behind me, grasping a hold of the first doorknob I felt and tumbling through it. I landed ungracefully on the cold concrete floor of the attached garage. I lurched on my feet and spun around in time to see the girl crawling through the open door, her red eyes glowing eerily in the dark. She giggled again before springing towards me once more, spittle flying from her razor teeth. She sailed over my head and into the side of the car as I ducked. The creature hissed as a sizzling sound and the smell of charred flesh permeated the air. She spun towards me with an angry growl. The skin on her forehead charred where she had hit the side of the car. I glanced around looking for anything I could use to defend myself. Once more, Mallory lunged for me. I grabbed an iron hammer from the tool rack behind me and swung it like a baseball bat. The abomination howled in agony and I gagged as a stench of scorched skin burned my nostrils. Her face where I hit her with the hammer was a melted wreck, sizzling and popping as the flesh melted from her bones. With one last agonized scream, the girl skittered under the garage door and scampered through the yard, disappearing into the thin line of trees behind the house. Finally, Will and Vanessa sprinted into the garage, their faces frozen in panicked expressions. What happened? Will demanded. Where's Mallory? I dropped the blood and viscera-coated hammer from my shaking hands, gasping in air as I tried to calm my frayed nerves, unable to fully comprehend what I had just done. She attacked me, I said, my voice monotone as the shock and confusion began to set in. Then she ran out the garage door. Will gaped at me as Vanessa clung to his side in fright. Well, don't just stand there. We need to go after her. Realizing he was right, I pushed away the panicked thoughts in my mind, compartmentalizing them to deal with on a later date. Will handed me a flashlight from the tool cabinet behind the door, taking his own and rushing out into the night with me. We split up, Will heading down the street in case she had circled around while I was headed for the tree line. Mallory! I called, the light from the flashlight bouncing off the trees as I jogged through the brush. I searched the woods for what felt like forever, calling her name until the sun began to rise above the trees. As the forest became bathed in the pale pink glow of early morning, I started heading back, realizing we'd likely need a search party. When I could just begin to see suburbs through the branches, movement in my periphery gave me pause. Mallory? Are you there? I hesitantly headed toward where I thought I had seen the stirring. As I approached, I could see the sleeping form of a small girl lying curled on the leaves at the base of a decrepit tree. Mallory Evans? I said softly, giving her shoulder a gentle shake to stir her. The girl groaned and rubbed her eyes sleepily. As she became more alert, the panic began to set into her features. Her face was dirty but unmarred. No glowing eyes or burned flesh seemed to have ever been present on this girl. Mommy? Where's my mommy? She whimpered. I reached out and gently helped her to her feet, offering my hand. Your mommy is waiting for you at home. It's just right through the trees, I reassured her, leading her through the trees and into the yard. Do you know how you got out here? She shook her head, glancing uncertainly back at the thin corpse of trees. I was getting off the bus after school, and then I woke up here, she said. My eyebrows drew together as I pondered what could have happened to this poor child. My thoughts were interrupted as Will and Vanessa rushed across the yard, sobbing as they embraced their daughter and examined her for any wounds. I stepped back to give them space, glancing back at the tree line one last time. Through the branches and the murky shadows still clinging in the early hours, I caught a glimpse of glowing red eyes and flashing, razor-sharp teeth.